Have you ever looked at your life, not from within it, but as if you were watching someone else's and wondered, who is this for? The house, the job title, the curated social posts, the things you say just to keep the peace. Does it feel like you, or just a convincing impersonation? Seneca, the Roman Stoic, would have called this out for what it is: performance. And more dangerously, self-deception. While the world obsesses over success, Seneca was dissecting something far more difficult to master: authenticity. This video explores what I call Seneca's forbidden formula. Not because it's hidden, but because most people are too scared to confront it. It's the formula for living truthfully in a world built on illusion. It's the invitation to ask, is my life built on lies? If that question stings, good. That's where we begin. If Marcus Aurelius had his diary, Seneca had his letters. And unlike Marcus's solitary reflections, Seneca's letters to Lucilius are laser-guided critiques. They're not vague or poetic. They are scalpel sharp, and the patient on the table is often you. Seneca's letters weren't essays, they were confrontations. In letter 47 he writes, "Show me a man who is not a slave. One is a slave to lust, another to greed, another to ambition. All are slaves to hope or fear." He wasn't speaking metaphorically. Seneca believed we were enslaved not by tyrants but by false ideas. Ideas about what matters, what defines us, and what gives our life value. Today, those ideas are sold as ads, promoted as brand identity, and paraded on social feeds. And most terrifying? We choose them. Seneca repeatedly warned about the danger of seeming rather than being. We want to seem wealthy, happy, well-liked, competent, but all the effort we spend curating that image eats away at our soul. Letter 2. You ask what is the proper limit to a person's wealth, first having what is essential, and second having what is enough. Let that sink in. Having what is essential. Now contrast that with your last impulse buy or your mental checklist for status. Job title, square footage, number of followers, fashion labels. Seneca's formula strips all of that away. He tells us the truth, that luxury, unless approached with indifference, is a gilded trap. You begin by controlling it, but soon it controls you. We live in a society where your worth is often measured in KPIs, key performance indicators, likes, views, revenue, retweets, promotions. But as Seneca puts it, letter 87, what is the worth of a man who values everything by its price? In other words, what happens when everything you do is for a scoreboard you didn't design? That's not just insecurity, that's bondage. Seneca's forbidden formula is simple. Trade performance for principle. Trade appearance for truth. But to do that, you have to admit you've been playing a part. And most people would rather die in costume than undress their ego. Living authentically isn't glamorous. It's raw. It's terrifying. Because it means saying, "I don't know," when you're expected to lead. It means walking away from approval. It means admitting you've built parts of your life on fear. Seneca writes, "We suffer more often in imagination than in reality." Letter 13. The fear of what might happen, of being judged, failing, rejected, keeps us acting out a version of life that's safer but false. Seneca's challenge? Face that fear. Replace imagination with inspection. In his letters, Seneca often practiced what he called voluntary poverty. He would deliberately sleep on hard beds, eat coarse bread, wear simple clothing, even though he was one of the wealthiest men in Rome. Why? Set aside a certain number of days during which you shall be content with the scantiest and cheapest fare, with coarse and rough dress, saying to yourself all the while, "Is this the condition I feared?" Letter 18. He was inoculating himself against illusion, against dependence, against the lie that comfort equals security. Because once you know you can live with less, no one can threaten you with scarcity. We all play roles: professional, parent, influencer, leader, victim, savior. But what is the cost of identifying too closely with a role? No man can live a happy life, or even a supportable life, without the study of wisdom continually. Letter 16. Wisdom, for Seneca, meant stripping away illusion, not just learning facts. And if your identity is built on a role that isn't rooted in wisdom, you'll always feel unsteady. Like an actor who forgot they're on stage. Exercises for a more honest life. The Stoic path isn't paved with comfort, it's forged in clarity. If you want to live a life rooted in truth, not illusion, Seneca's philosophy demands action. Not performative action, but small daily disciplines that pull you back into alignment. Here's how to start. Every evening, take 5 quiet minutes to ask yourself 2 uncomfortable questions. Where did I act out of fear today? Where did I pretend to be someone I'm not? This isn't an exercise in shame, it's an invitation to honesty. Maybe you laughed at a joke you didn't find funny. Maybe you stayed silent when you should have spoken up. These aren't failures, they're signals. Over time, this simple habit becomes a mirror. The more consistently you do it, the more difficult it becomes to lie to yourself the next day. Voluntary simplicity. Remove one comfort, observe your reaction. We often don't realize how attached we are to our routines until we strip something away. Try going without your favorite drink for a week. Leave your phone at home during a walk. Sleep without a pillow. Not to punish yourself, but to test your resilience. Seneca practiced this not to suffer, but to recalibrate. He wanted to know what he needed versus what he had been conditioned to depend on. Your discomfort is your data. Define enough. What's enough for you? In a culture built on upgrades and goals, enough becomes a moving target. But Seneca challenges us to set a fixed anchor. What kind of life would genuinely satisfy your soul? Not your neighbors, not your parents, not your followers. Define it clearly. How much money, how many hours of work, what kind of relationships? Write it down. When you have a vision of enough, you stop chasing too much and finally find peace in sufficiency. Identity check. Which roles empower you? Which deplete you? We all wear masks. Some empowering, some suffocating. Take an honest inventory of the roles you play. Employee, parent, friend, creator, leader. Ask, which roles feel aligned with my values? Which ones feel performative or draining? Seneca believed that wisdom meant self-knowledge, knowing which parts of you are true and which are costumes you forgot to take off, is key to reclaiming your time and your truth. Fear on paper. What am I most afraid people will find out? Write down the things you're terrified of being exposed for, the insecurities, regrets, secrets. No one needs to read it. This is for you. Seneca said that most suffering is born of imagination. Naming your fear reduces its power. When you confront it on the page, you stop running from it in life. Often the fear itself is far worse than the truth behind it. Invisible day. Act as if no one is watching. What changes? For one full day, live as if no one will know what you said, wore, bought, or posted. Strip away the audience. Notice what you do differently, what you skip, what you prioritize. This exercise reveals how much of your life is performed and what remains when the spotlight vanishes. Seneca's entire philosophy hinges on the internal judge. If you can impress your own conscience, external applause becomes irrelevant. These exercises aren't quick fixes. They're slow, steady tools for shedding illusion and embodying truth. In a world obsessed with visibility, choosing inner alignment is a quiet rebellion. But as Seneca reminds us, it's the only path to freedom. The truth hurts, and then it heals. Seneca didn't want followers. He wanted free minds. When you read his letters, you get the sense that he wasn't trying to impress, but to wake, to rattle the cage of illusion we live in. The most dangerous lies aren't the ones we tell others. They're the ones we live quietly every day to ourselves. I'm happy, I have to do this. This is who I am. But beneath each of these is often a quieter voice, the one you drown out with distraction. Seneca's forbidden formula asks you to stop silencing it. Not with noise, not with novelty, but with inspection. Because if your life is built on lies, no matter how successful you become, there will always be a part of you that feels like an imposter. Not because you're not enough, but because you've never been fully you. Here's the good news. You don't have to burn everything down. You just have to tell the truth. Start with small truths. I don't want this. I need help. I'm tired of pretending. Each truth you speak builds a brick of real life, and slowly, the fake one crumbles. Seneca didn't promise happiness. He promised honesty, and through honesty, freedom. You don't need to flee to the desert or renounce your career. But you do need to ask, is this mine? Or is this a role I inherited, accepted, and now wear like armor? If your answer scares you, congratulations, you're waking up. Seneca once said, "It is not the man who has too little, but the man who craves more that is poor." So maybe poverty isn't financial. Maybe it's spiritual. Maybe it's pretending every day to be someone you're not. Seneca's letters aren't motivational quotes. They're medicine. Bitter, bracing, and deeply healing. But only if you take the dose. So, here's your final invitation. Close the tabs. Silence the feed. Sit with a pen and your own thoughts. And write not for an audience, but for alignment. Because if your life is built on lies, only you can rewrite it. And you should.